So we're getting into representation and over-representation conversation. Dr. EKURU AUKOT, he is the party leader of the Thirdway Alliance, in the hot seat of the Situation Room this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Long time.
I must say, I watch your shows actually, and I'm impressed with the subjects and also the people you're bringing in on the show. It's shaping up a conversation that is long overdue.
Asante sana. I mean, that's one of the things that we try to do, isn't it? To set agendas and say, let's have these important conversations. It's necessary to have them. They will be uncomfortable sometimes. Yep. They will, ruffle feathers sometimes, but it's necessary to have. And here we are with a conversation that you probably will ruffle some feathers with this morning. But still, again, necessary to have. So thank you for that, and thank you for being here. And so we register our thanks by giving you the proverb today, and CT is going to do that as it welcomes you in, and you can tell us what you think about it.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week, the week ending tomorrow, are from the People's Republic. I like that. People's Republic of Algeria. A very interesting country. Really, really, really interesting. Cross the loud river and don't cross the silent one.
Cross the loud river
and don't cross the silent one.
Silent one.
Yes.
Wow. I hope I'm not too slow this morning.
Let's see.
To appreciate that. I think my thinking is that when you are saying in a difficult situation, or you're in a crisis situation, how you navigate yourself out of a bad situation or a troublesome situation is probably the best thing you can do, as opposed to when you are calm or peaceful. I don't know.
This is the beauty of asking people to give you their opinion, because you will hear of interpretation you would not have thought on, and it's wonderful. Thank you.
The human mind is an amazing thing.
It's a good interpretation. Thank you.
It is.
But what did they mean, the people of Algeria?
It could have been anything.
It could have been anything. It would have been exactly what you've said.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I just thought maybe at a time of peace, why do I need to struggle to?
Yes.
But when the river is so loud and I'm challenged, that's when the real human challenges.
Precisely.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you what the Algerians meant. I can tell you how I see it. That's the best I can do. Yes.
Okay.
No, it's audible.
Yes, you are. You're fine. Okay. So even as we get into this, let's just do a little bit of background. When we talk about representation and over-representation, reappointments and appointments in this country, all pointing to representation, because one would assume that you're either representing a person or you're representing an idea for the fostering of government in this country,
or representing a region.
There you go. This is coming off of the president about a month ago in a repetitive nature, where he spoke about austerity measures being brought into the country, number one. Number two, cutting, and along those lines, cutting, coats according to your cloth size. But then in a very short period of time, we see that this has gone against the words that he had spoken before. We saw a cabinet dissolved, abolished, whatever word you want to use. And then very many individuals in that cabinet came back. And then we see other individuals who are cabinet ministers now being appointed in the positions of advisors. And of course, the rumor mills are a-buzzing about what can happen with permanent secretaries in the future to appease. Because I would need somebody to convince me that it was not for appeasement.
Okay.
What is happening, and are we seeing a situation whereby the over-representation, which your party a few years ago was very insistent on to say no, we don't have to spend this kind of money for Kenyans to be represented. We don't have to spend this kind of money on elections, for example. We don't have to spend this kind of money. What are we looking at right now if we look at the whole picture of what's happening in Kenya as pertains to this representation issue?
I think, first of all, I hope Kenyans are actually watching, and I hope they are learning a lot of lessons, especially even coming from just what the Gen Z's revolution or revolt was all about, and that we should carry this over to the next stage of electing our representatives. You're right. Kenyans are overrepresented, and we did a quick study 5 years ago in 2018 when we brought the Punguza Mizigo Constitutional Amendment Bill that was targeting to reduce the cost of our governance and also reduce representation, go for a lean government, and then redirect those resources that we are spending on representation to basic services. And we challenged Kenyans that at independence, we talked of eradicating at least 3 things: poverty, ignorance, and what? And it was health, education, and ignorance. So, and we feel that a lot of money today is actually going into recurrent expenditure, because that's a fact. Yeah. Even the county governments today, despite devolution being one of the brilliant ideas Kenyans came up with, a lot of money is going into recurrent expenditure, not development, to address those independent promises. So what has gone wrong? What has gone wrong over the years and over the decades is that government has become a business, and there is capture of the state by a few individuals. And that's why you'll find these few individuals have become the fixtures in our public institutions. Today, it's like we cannot speak about Kenya without mentioning certain names. They must be in government. So, for example, the recent appointments, and I'll come to the question of the president dissolving or sacking his entire cabinet, but look at the people he appointed from the opposition. There have been governors for at least 10 years, talking about Oparanya, Hassan Joho. Mbadi's been an MP, I don't know for how many years, 15 years. Opio Wandai, the rest. So there are people who have had privileges. They have had opportunity to actually serve the country and serve Kenyans. But again, if you really analyze, it's like you'll say, okay, fine. The appointment of these people, bringing them into government. What transformational agenda or change can I associate them with when they were governors, when they are members of parliament, whatever the case may be?
They said Oparanya was one of the best-serving governors in Kakamega County. We saw many things happen.
Yeah, but we also know that EACC is actually was investigating him for theft of money. That we also know. I don't know whether that was...
the ODPP dropped the charges.
Well, conveniently, just like they dropped many other charges, not only Oparanya. But now, let's go to the question of appointment. The president resolving of his cabinet. You see, one of the things in our constitution under Article 10 is accountability. Now, did the president give an explanation to the country why he fired his entire cabinet?
In the Gazette?
He never gave an explanation. I don't know. I didn't see a reason why I'm dissolving. Is it because I lack confidence in you anymore? Or is it because you are not delivering anymore? And then secondly, now on reappointing some of the cabinet members, he did not explain, for example, why he did not reappoint the others. So is it, for example, an indictment of the ones that have not been reappointed, who were previously in the cabinet? And what is so special about the few that he reappointed from the previous cabinet that he dissolved? So he ought to have given an explanation.
He did. Okay. In the Gazette notice.
In the Gazette notice, he talked about mismanagement. He talked about,
It was general, but he did state.
lack of accountability. He did not state that he was preferring each issue to a particular individual, but he kept it round. In the Gazette notice, he mentioned lack of transparency, mismanagement, lack of accountability, etc., etc. And on these grounds, then I, as the president, have chosen to send everybody home. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that was the main gist of the notice.
Do you honestly buy that?
What else is for sale? I mean,
what else are you offering? What else are you offering? Let's see if we can purchase.
You see, and of course, that again takes us to the point I made earlier. That, okay, fine. If it was mismanagement, lack of transparency, and then I'm dissolving the entire cabinet, meaning all of them were not transparent, were not accountable. But then you reappointed people from the same group that you had said were not accountable, were not transparent. but he never gave explanation. What's so special? For example, about my brother Haden Dwale, my sister Soipan Tuya, and Kindiki Kiture. Nothing personal, but at least that explanation, that accountability is what our constitution requires of a president, requires of anybody holding public office. That was not given. So it was, in my view, political expediency. And right now, I mean, people would not say this, but, since we're in the situation room and we can always speak our mind, there's a lot of disquiet among those people who are not reappointed. And there's a lot of lobbying that, okay, at least tupatie kama ambassadorial position.
Shouldn't there be, though? Imagine if you were in a group of 24, 25 people, and then everybody was sent home, and then certain numbers from that group then came back, and then we're seeing murmurings. Surely, would you not complain and say, hang on a minute, you are accountable and I am not? Back? You are transparent and I am opaque.
Why have I been left out?
Well, but the president is the appointing authority.
Yeah.
And I think he uses his political prerogative to say, okay, I want so and so, in a position. Like now, I'm told like some of the former governors are lobbying to be appointed into board membership.
But let me ask you something, Daktari. The president is not the appointing authority.
He is.
No? I know that's what the constitution says, but he's not. It's Parliament that's the appointing authority.
Parliament only recommends.
Now, you see, let me explain to you. I'm being facetious. And I'm being facetious deliberately.
And we'll come to Parliament, but I like the fact that you're not bringing about Parliament.
Yes.
Vetting. I will come to that.
Yes, because
it's a very important.
Because vetting, by its very nature, is supposed to unearth whatever it is that we need to know about the people who have been appointed, and to determine for ourselves whether they are fit for the task or not, generally speaking. But we know what our processes are like, and that is the reason why I have said they are an appointing authority. You will find every once in a while a rare occasion where some unfortunate individual. In fact, I've come to this belief that those individuals are appointed deliberately so as a red herring, just to determine, to show that some people are, not everybody who is appointed gets what? Vetted and gets a pass.
Yes, so that I can say at least I gave it.
Because in all honesty, I've seen it on two occasions. One, when we're trying to determine who should be ambassadors, God knows where and where, and recently. Are you telling me that even if you are somebody who was lobbying for someone, that you would not know that that person will be vetted, and so that they can at least be prepared, so that when they are vetted, they can respond? Or are we saying that these are individuals who were prepared, but there are people who do very badly in interviews, very, very badly. They may even have the knowledge, but the moment they're in front of a committee,
they lose it.
Everything just flies out of the window. But when your appointment or vetting rate is 99.9%, you're an appointing authority. You're not a vetting authority.
Not to mock anyone, I don't know whether I remember watching the vetting, quote unquote, because for me, I don't think there was any vetting to begin with. When I watched the so-called vetting of a guy who was supposed to go and represent us in DRC,
yes,
but could not explain what GDC means.
Yes.
Or per capita.
Me, I'm with them. Even me, I don't know what GDC is.
GDP, not GDC.
No, GDP, I know. Okay. Per capita, even I know.
No, but then you're going to be our economic representation
in another country.
How could you not know such basic economic terms?
They asked him the wrong questions.
But anyway, be that as it may, City, I will give you a simple explanation why Parliament is not the appointing authority. Parliament today in Kenya, as we speak, is an extension of the executive. It's been captured by the executive. The first thing that Kenya Kwanza administration did, remember, Kenya Kwanza administration is not the majority in Parliament. Well, it wasn't. I think now it is, and now it's even double majority after the capture of ODM, especially in the recent happenings. So now he is just a walk in the park. So Parliament being captured was not even able to actually interrogate the capability or the suitability of individuals to be appointed into public office. Remember, Chapter 6, which is, I think, maybe one of the geniuses of our Constitution, speaks about you when you occupy that public office. We must actually give you respect. You must not be a person that when we look at CT occupying a certain ministry, now we start thinking, hey, how did he end up there?
Surely.
No, I'm just...
I'm agreeing with you saying, surely, did they not have
Anybody else?
Exactly.
Yes.
So those are the questions that come up. So, for example, think about the recent revetting of some of the reappointees. Now, Wetangula even lost his skill as an advocate. He couldn't interrogate that, okay, for the last 2 years, Kenya has been in almost an economic meltdown. Yeah, we're talking about the high percentage of unemployment.
Yes,
we're talking about people on the street demonstrating because of hardships. How did you make 150 million
in a year?
In a year.
Okay, fine, 2 years.
Or 2 years, yeah, whatever the case may be. We were also told the coffers are very empty. And therefore there was no money. The economy is struggling. We are borrowing, we are flying around and about the globe to borrow money so that we can improve the economy. But you made so much wealth. I mean, 150 million, 2 million, 200 million is not a small change. So if you are that a genius in, for example, empowering yourself economically to make such money, how is it that in your ministry you're not able to perform? Because that's a miracle in Kenya in the last 2 years. It's a miracle. Yeah? Because even for us who go to the courtrooms and the court corridors every day, it's difficult to make such amount of money unless, of course, you strike some deal, and it has to be a really... It has to be a really good deal, But because today, even any lawyer will tell you that, yes, we have a lot of work from clients, but to get your fees paid is a bit difficult because people do not have money. So how is it that, for example, somebody appointed in the ministry, I've never seen Kindiki in the court corridors.
He's busy in the ministry.
But I saw, I've never seen him even argue a bicycle accident claim, accident.
But maybe he has a firm and he has lawyers who do that.
Yes, he has a firm, but then again, of course, then it cannot be your money. So, now not to demean anyone, but I'm just saying we must be able to know you for having done something. And the wealth that we see with all our cabinet ministers and our government, these are representatives. I ask myself many questions. These people are not Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk. What industry are they actually running?
That's a question many Kenyans ask. Now, when you had a manifesto, one of the things that what the manifesto was known for was very simply put, you wanted a lean, effective, efficient government.
Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Now, tell me, in a situation such as the one we find ourselves in now, Dr. Ari, what would you have prescribed that we do?
You see, I use for a simple example. As a president, Kenyans have provided me with a free house, big, security, motor vehicles,
Free to you, you don't have to pay for it because Kenyans have paid for it.
Kenyans are paying for it.
Yes.
So why should I be paid 2 million Kenya shillings or even more? Or allowances when I travel? What is the opportunity for me to spend my own money?
When everything is being paid for.
Everything is being paid for you. And remember, there is the Retirement Benefits Act that will look after you once you leave office. So for me, as a president, I will just do with an allowance, a peppercorn, whatever, to say that at least, because I know I'm being looked after, I don't have an opportunity even to buy you city water. First of all, if we are lucky, we are meeting in our social places that I can buy you a drink or whatever. I don't have that opportunity. So for us, we are very keen that we need to reduce the cost of this governance expenditure in some of these, especially on personalities. Because, by the way, if you want to make money, and that was our argument in our manifesto called our promise to Kenyans, if you want to make money, go to the corporate world. Not in the public service. public service is not a place you come to make money. In the public service, you actually come to serve and to change people's lives. That's why we talk about roads, education, health, and all those issues. Equal opportunities. For example, one of the things that we propose and we justified is that education is an investment to any country.
Anywhere.
You encourage education, research, and then link research to industry. That's how countries develop.
Yeah.
That's how countries prosper. Yeah, that's how countries can actually manufacture and produce. Now, in Kenya, we don't even link education to industry at all because we are making education so difficult to acquire. Today, it is very sad that you'll finish Form 4 and your next biggest headache is, can I afford college fees?
Will I be able to? Exactly.
And then we also recognize at the same time that Kenya is a poor country. So you have got a parent from let me just name my favorite place, like I like Todonyang in a far part of Kenya, where you're not even able to fix security because of cattle rustling or cattle robbery with violence that people call cattle rustling, which is not really cattle, But then you send such a kid who has studied so hard and then admitted to the University of Nairobi or Kenyatta or whatever, the university, then you expect them to still pay money. Why is the state not actually investing in that person? You train a doctor for 5-6 years.
Yep.
And you expect this doctor to now look after the health of the nation. But then you are not able to just conclude a collective bargaining agreement with them. When you are already admitting that we are losing too much money daily to corruption.
And you have thousands of people who are representing these Kenyans who are actually supposed to be getting this job done.
We did a study, though. Yeah. We I just picked about 3 countries, actually. We looked at the United States of America, which people, of course, say, the biggest democracy, progressive country. Population of America at that time, when we looked at it, was 350 million. They only have 535 representatives for both houses of Congress and the Senate.
Yes.
Meaning in America, they represent about 625,000 people. One person represent, Then we went to India, where most of our ministers and big people go for medical treatment. A population at that time of 1.3 billion. Yeah, and they only have about 800 elected representatives. China, where we borrow a lot of money, where they're actually building, our roads and whatever.
Yes.
At that time, I think it was 0.3 billion people. They only have 1,200 elected representatives. Now we came to Kenya and we asked this question. At that time we were 50 million Kenyans, but we have got 416 elected representatives. Now, if you do the maths, we are 400% overrepresented. And not only that, City, it comes with a cost. At that time, they are gobbling 37.5 billion Kenya shillings.
Okay.
Which they later on increased to something like, I think, about 42 billion. Now you ask yourself.
No, sorry.
What is
when you talk about gobbling this amount, 37 billion, this is their pay.
Parliament.
Their pay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this just the emolument that they get for working, or is it everything?
So let me tell you. Let me paint the picture for you. A typical member of Parliament, basic salary is about, is it 800,000 Kenya shillings per month?
I wouldn't know.
Yes, I'm telling you, I'm giving you those figures. But if you had allowances, I've never seen an employee, I don't know whether you people now get some sitting allowance because you're doing this show.
No. Our work involves sitting, so there's no sitting allowance.
You have to sit anyway.
Yes.
So I mean.
Okay, so then, that's the picture I want you to see. So you're a member of Parliament, you probably take home close to about $1 million every month.
Yeah.
But every time you sit in a committee
to do your job
for which you are paid for, you must have a sitting allowance. I have been summoned by a parliamentary committee to make presentation. A committee of about 25, I remember that time, members of Parliament. That's when we were doing the Punguza Mizigo.
Yes.
They come, they sign, and they disappear. We ended up with only 4. And the reason they sign is so that they don't lose the sitting allowance. Then, you want to go to your constituency. to talk to your people who elected you. We are paying you mileage.
For your fuel, for your car.
For your fuel, for whatever. We are giving you all this money, but we are also saying we buy you a house.
Or give you a loan.
Well, that's literally we are buying, because we are giving you 25 million.
25?
Yeah, I think that's 25. I think 25 million is what they get.
25?
Yes.
And they don't pay it back? It's not in mortgage?
No, they pay.
Yeah.
So they take the interest rate is about, what is it, 3%?
Yeah, it's a very low interest rate.
Like
so you create the environment whereby they can borrow easily.
Then we also give you money for a car. I think the car is about, is it 20 million thereabouts? But yeah, that's exactly. I mean, member of parliament gets that. That's why you can see some of them. You'll see a very shabbily dressed guy. All of a sudden, as soon as he becomes member of parliament, the transformation is so...
They have cheeks.
Yeah.
And, you know...
Even start wearing labels, you know.
So who fights for the soul and conscience of Kenya? And as we look at some of these things, because at the end of the day, Dr. Aukot, what we're talking about today is that when you look at overrepresentation, or even in some cases misrepresentation of the Kenyan, we look at wasted money. We look at money that can be used for so many things. I mean, look at what we're talking about today. Doctors want to go on strike. Teachers are already on strike because of what? Because the money that they're being asked to pay is money that was agreed upon. And we're looking at between 7 to 20,000 shillings. Not the billions that now we're accustomed to when we talk about money that's lost. We're saying that doctors, you said they were going to pay them 120,000 shillings, an increase to a certain amount, you won't pay them. But when we talk about representation in the country, it's through the roof. That, let's leave alone from your MCA to your member of parliament, to your senator, to your governor, to your women rep. And then, yes, to your deputy president, deputy governor, and your president. Those are the people that represent you. But then, under the purview of the president, you have advisors here, economic, you have advisors here. I don't even know what they are. And it's likely that we will see more. Is it not enough? Why
would a president have an economic advisor when you have a minister in charge of finance and senior economist in treasury? You see, when you read the Auditor General report, you are lucky not to be depressed, but you can only make one conclusion, that Kenya is one big crime scene. Theft of public money and resources is happening every day, and nobody goes to jail. And this is all the representation. In fact, when you talk about representation, let me paint a bigger picture. So we have the President of the Republic of Kenya. Ideally, or as it should be, he actually represents Kenyans. Wherever you may be. Then there comes a deputy. So then you have a senator. You have a governor. You have a member of parliament. You have a women rep. Then you have got an MCA, member of county assembly. That is all representation in just one particular unit. Then now you go to appointment of people into cabinet by dint of Article 130 of the Constitution of Kenya. So people are saying, oh, we must have someone from our region.
Yes, yes.
You know, again, that's representation. But even though they don't share their salary with you, or the trappings of power, and you know all the good things that comes with that power, or when they travel out of the country, they actually come back maybe with a minimum of at least 500,000 Kenya shillings, because hotel is paid for, everything is paid for, the allowances, the packs. I mean, it's just wastage, pilferage. It's actually theft. I mean, I you know, these days I shudder to. I don't want to use the word corruption because I don't know what it means even in my mother tongue. But if you tell me in Turkana that I was supposed to build a road, and that road is not there, and money was allocated, where did the money go? You basically stole.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, you defrauded the public. So representation in Kenya comes at a very heavy cost, and it's not just political representation we're talking about, by the way. It is also just representation in government and duplications of roles and, you know, positions. When, for example, President William Ruto, in his wisdom or lack of it, felt that we need to bring back chief administrative secretaries who are not even defined in the constitution. And of course, you are picking people from various regions. Again, that's representation. And it comes with a cost, you know. So, for example, who does the office of the first lady or the office of the wife of the deputy president or office of the chief cabinet secretary represent in Kenya. For us to be able to allocate them that amount of money. Nothing personal to those offices.
No, not at all.
Nothing personal.
No.
But it's a cost to us that comes with creating these appointments, these positions that ideally represent a certain situation in the country. So we really need to rethink.
So this situation that they represent, what exactly is it?
Which one?
Well, these offices that you're saying, the ones we fund, because if we are funding them, there is
the thought is that they're helping something.
Exactly.
What is it?
That's a bigger question. Your guess is as good as mine. But for me, it's wastage, because if you balance them against, for example, the pressing needs in the country, do we really need to spend money? And so you asked the question about the soul of the nation. Yeah, you see, the soul of any nation. I was reading Halbisak's book and Asen Hebrahim. They wrote about the soul of the nation from the South African context and in constitution making. You see, it's leadership of a country that actually betrays that consciousness of the conscience of a country. Because if you don't represent, you cannot, for example, tell us that you are going to uplift the lives of the downtrodden, but then you are doing exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
And if, for example, if you analyze the Gen Z demonstrations, Maandamano, it was a reaction to how they are being betrayed as a generation by leadership over the years and over the decades. So the consciousness of our country must really be questioned, and the questioning must start from, on the one hand, from the leadership of the country. Where are they leading us as a nation?
Yeah.
When we are overspending this money through some funny offices, and yet we are compromising, for example, education, health, and good roads and all that, is the leadership of a country really conscious? But then we need to go to the next level. That we as a society, when we decide that we are installing or putting somebody in the positions of leadership, are we also conscious when making that decision? Especially when we start talking about the mutuetu. Today, I was just challenging my Luo friends, and I mean, not necessarily UCT, didn't talk to you.
Yeah.
But there was excitement in Luo Nyanza.
Because the president came
First started with the appointment of
cabinet secretaries from this region.
Yes.
Okay.
Mbadi, Opio Wandai, and now Luos are saying now we are in charge of the treasury, so we don't need to go for Maandamano anymore. we are in the government.
My goodness.
And then, of course, the other thing is, now Baba will be the president of all presidents in Africa if he gets the AUC position, although they're really playing him, because I don't think he will get it. So now it has culminated into a 4-day tour of Luo Nyanza.
Yes.
So that consciousness for me is lost.
Can you put consciousness and politics in the same sentence and hope that
I think you can.
You can.
City, you can. Because you see, if you go into leadership through politics, of course, then we expect that you will transform society, transform a leader, so that we can say, once upon a time there was a leader who did. For example, to be honest with you, I'm a great admirer of Ibrahim Traore, Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
I love the guy, and I love what he's doing. If you pick it up from even where Thomas Sankara left,
yes,
before they killed him, of course,
yes,
because they killed him. Look at what Traore is doing. Traore is saying simple, you are actually stealing uranium from us. You are selling it at, I think, 200 something euros, but you're giving us 8 euros. So 8
euros.
8 euros.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we are saying no, to hell with that. We are going to do everything here. If you want our uranium, you give us at that market price globally. He's also said now he's setting up a gold refining factory. He's doing some flagship projects that are actually transformational. In Botswana, during Khama's rule, he just looked at what is the economic opportunity in Botswana. It was cattle.
Yeah. Oh, cattle.
It was cattle before they discovered
the diamonds.
The diamonds and all that. It was meat economy. He just transformed it. I mean, even when you go to, tired examples we have used, like Singapore with Lee Kuan Yew back in the days and what they did. So, yes, you have to link, because you cannot tell us that when you are a leader, you cannot see what is the heartbeat of the nation and what do people want. And that becomes an identity of you as a people.
Actually, what you said is very pertinent. A leader, by definition, must be somebody who actually has a vision, who is visionary. Because to lead, it means you see ahead.
Exactly.
Yeah, but the fact that we elect people doesn't necessarily make them leaders. They occupy positions of leadership. But if you were to judge them by what they do with those positions, then ultimately the word leaders and certain individuals cannot be again in the same sentence.
City, I don't want to name names here, but I feel that sometimes I feel very embarrassed as a Kenyan that some nondescript individuals today are actually the face of leadership in Kenya.
How so?
Because they are in the seat of power, or they are influencers on how policy decisions are being made. And they will even brag openly that their business is to make money. They have said that in the open, but I don't want to name names. But you see, now that makes culminates into a description of what are the people of Kenya known for. I mean, you see the way you look into a country, you say, okay, Tanzanians are supposed to be polite people, Ugandans are like these, Kenyans, we are seen as the crooks in East Africa, by the way. and that becomes a character description of who we are as a people. So I think that for me, I'm thinking that maybe going forward, we need to begin to prick our conscience as a people, so that even as the electorate, who are we actually giving these positions of power and influence to be able to transform our lives? I think we now need to begin to deconstruct the Kenyan society, but also the leadership or the people occupying those offices.
How does that then apply when we're making decisions? Because at the end of the day here, whether you want to talk about overrepresentation, and if that's going to be changed, essentially that means that you start to do things like constitutional amendments. That means that you start to have that very serious and for many people very uncomfortable conversation. Then you also have the very thing that you've said now, when you're then looking into a decision that you make in the future at the ballot, how many people are scrutinizing or interrogating this thing that you have said and say, we really need to start to look at how we make choices on certain things. How many people are ready to have that conversation vis-a-vis the hunger that they have in their bellies, vis-a-vis the children that they're looking at home and have not gone to school? And somebody comes up to you and offers you 500 shillings to solve a today problem.
500 shillings is too much.
Well, there you go. To solve a today problem.
50, Bob.
How do we get out of that?
Yeah.
And here we are saying the very same people who are depending on 50 shillings, for example, because there's a lot of people who are depending on that 50 shillings. And it's provided to you by the person who, by golly, should not be the one in that position of representation, but they do because they have the power of the purse, right? How do we start to have that conversation when it's against the sacrifice, or rather against the altar of survival? How do we do that?
So one of my favorite musical artists is called Sam Cooke. And before he was killed, he had composed a song called Change Is Gonna Come. And change is not easy, because he did this song in the 70s, if I'm not wrong. But he had envisioned a situation where one day, one time, things will be better in America, and of course for me, I link that, for example, to the presidency of someone like Barack Obama, and I think now that we have got a prospective first female president in the United States with Kamala Harris, and we've also have the examples in Africa, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Suluhu Hassan and others. These are not things that we ever thought will happen. But I think, to your question, to address societal challenges is not always a very comfortable or easy, situation. Unless, of course, you go maybe the dictatorship, the benevolent dictatorship approach.
Yeah.
For example, people like, say, Kagame. People say Kagame is a dictator. For me, I see him totally different. I don't know about his, but I go to Kigali, I'm proud, I'm impressed. I can see a very clean city, can see certain
Safe city.
Certain mannerisms, for example.
Yep.
You jump the lights, I mean, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You know, you don't talk about tribalism and all that. Back in my student days, when I was in the UK, I remember Tony Blair that time as a prime minister. He started speaking about certain bad manners of the British people. Obesity. He just spoke about obesity, and he linked obesity to how it is stretching the health budget.
Wow.
No, seriously. And he told people, I think you probably need to exercise. Think about what you eat. Because now, because of your eating bad habits, you are now stressing us, me as a prime
take
minister,
care of you.
to look after you. The national health, whatever, that the equivalent
NHS,
of NHS, you know, is overstretched because of just obesity. So we need to address that. So we also need to start talking about certain bad things in our country. And the unfortunate thing is that we don't have a leadership that is able to be honest enough to say, you know, I've read the Auditor General report. It has confirmed there is theft happening in all the departments of government, in all the 47 counties of Kenya. People therefore must go to jail. We don't have that in Kenya today.
No.
Instead, you see people being rewarded with appointments into public office. And that's happening every day. They come into public office after stealing from us to even steal more.
Why are they rewarded?
Because of political expediency.
Precisely. Now, if political expediency rules the day,
and bad leadership.
then it isn't leadership.
Well, but we
A semblance of leadership that is exemplified
we call
there.
them our leaders.
Yes.
Well, if
they are in position of leadership.
If reference is being made to people who have a following, whether what they're doing is good or not, then let's say you're right. This is what I am saying. I am saying that when I look at political expediency, there are many instances where somebody can actually justify it and say it is for this purpose. For instance, Museveni has 139 advisors? Okay. I'm certain I've heard the arguments for it, and it's political expediency, but it stabilizes his government. Because if you look at the list of people who are given former vice president, former lieutenant general in the army, people who are of substance, so they are not let loose into the system. They have a position, they have an office, there's something that they do. Now, I can understand that given the background where they came from and how it is they got into power. I understand it. Ours, where we actually elect people, that's what I'm asking. What's the justification?
You see, listening to you, you're actually saying that political expediency is an expression of fear of those people in positions of leadership.
Yeah.
Because if they're not going to be politically expedient, bring people who might destabilize them, then their positions are threatened. Which means, therefore, political expediency has a negative connotation. If you look at, for example, and I think we've spoken it about here, one of the political geniuses of the Jubilee administration after the 2017 election was to bring on board the only person who could actually disrupt them. And that's how the handshake government came into place.
Yes. To bring in get your enemy on your side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Today, as we speak, the ODM people the Azimio guy can deny this. But William Ruto also knows I lied to Kenyans in 2022 about certain things. He even gave us timelines. By January,
in 6 months'
in
time.
6 months' time, we will do this. But now, because I want to go back to Solambaland and to just worry about reappointment in 2027, who else out there can actually disrupt me?
This is true.
So they go for Raila. And then they tell Raila, and I say this and I repeat it here, not a political prophet, but I will say it here. They tell Raila, we'll get your appointment to the AUC, African Union Commission. When they know clearly that Raila does not even qualify.
What do you mean?
But you check the qualifications to be a chairperson of AUC.
Yeah. It's quite some.
Yeah.
It's quite some.
He doesn't qualify.
What do you need to do? have wings.
Even right from an academic point of view alone. Yeah.
Language.
I should be patriotic to say, let me have, my fellow countrymen go to the UC. But the truth for the matter also is that there are qualifications you must meet.
Basic qualifications.
Basic qualifications. And also, the fact that how are we actually lobbying for this person? Couldn't we have picked, say, for example, a more qualified person? Because the guy from Djibouti, to be honest, he is more qualified than,
One to look at.
It's a fact. Have a look at it.
For sure.
And therefore, for me, again, we are also not being, in this country, city, sometimes this is we talk some truths which make people very uncomfortable. But also the image of our president in the continent and globally is going to campaign against Raila. Remember this interview, and I think we'll have a comeback.
Definitely we will.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, now time runs out, but I think there are very many things that pop up, and that's why it's important to continue having a conversation, because two things happen. You keep talking about it, or something will be done. And I think those are two very important things to do. Overrepresentation, what should be done about it? What should we cut? Dr. EKURU AUKOT, party leader of Thirdway Alliance, has been our guest this hour. Thank you for being here this morning, and we look forward to the next one.
And thanks for having me. This kind of conversation deserves like a half day.
Indeed. Indeed it does. Thank you for all of you for being part of Kenya's biggest conversation today. By God's grace, we talk again tomorrow morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.